Who said that? What up? What up? Good morning. Good morning. It is 6:31. It is December 6th. It is Wednesday. Home day. Hopefully everyone's feeling well. Got a little bit of a breather this week, right? But yesterday you did have some opportunities to buy some tech in the hole, and today you're getting a little bit upside follow through, which is nice, right? What we need is when stocks play by the rules, right? When something closes strong, it opens up the next day. When something closes weak, maybe you could buy it lower. You want continuity, you want follow through. You want a rotation. That's kind of what we've been getting. Anyway, my name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. Thanks for tuning in. It is 6:31, and we're going to go over where some of the action is, how we're going to make some money, how we're going to stay sane, right? Because got to stay sane in an insane world. Otherwise, you can go a little bonkers, right? We got to control what we can control. If you want to make changes, you know what? You got to make changes. Anyway, at this point, futures are up a little bit. They've come in a little. Europe is not broadly higher, but green. DAX is, I think, at highs of the 14, 15-month highs, where Asia just got a little bit of a bounce. The Nikkei up 2%. And here we are in the S&P cash. Actually, it was in a little early. So what I do usually when I'm in early, I go over the levels. I write a little bit about, just a little quick and dirty of what's happening. I do this every morning. I start with the S&P, and then I do the SPYs, the Qs, the IWM, the bios, the financials, the energy. So I do the sectors, and then I go into the Mag 7. I do all of them, and then I do some semis, and then I do some things that are in play that have popped in and popped out. And by the time I turn around, I've done 40 charts, and it's 8:15, and then I'm doing the same thing again. Instead of the 6:30 club, I'm doing a morning call for my dogs. Anyway, what do we do this week? We held the 8-day moving average. Felt as if it might break, but guess what? It didn't. At this point, we're still above 45, 46, 45, 37, going sideways, digesting, still in this upper range where you've had a little bit of erratic action from what looked like a topping tail and could be a corrective little push. Didn't happen. And at this point, there's just things to do. That's what you got to do. You got to look for things to do. Someone's like, hey, Red Dog, could you put the weekly chart up to check out the weekly chart? I could do that. If you look at the weekly chart, you had this descending channel here, right? Almost looked like a cup and handle pattern that broke out, and now it looks like we're building an upper bull flag that just looking at this with 3-4 weeks left in December and January, to me it looks like we're letting the moving averages catch up. We're going sideways. The rally's broadening out, and it seems like coming into the new year, we'll probably take out this 46.07, and then at some point in the first quarter or so, maybe we take out 48.18 and make a new push high, and then we see how weak does the data get, because at this point, you look at the jolts yesterday, you kind of reinforce the fact that we're going to cut next year, but the market's already pricing in like a point cut starting in April, and it's not what the Fed's saying, so we'll see how that push-pull happens. But for now, it's a long time away. Ultimately, you take a little bit of a bigger look here too. I sometimes like to give you guys, besides my cash flow active take, like yesterday, buying the Qs in the hole, Microsoft in the hole, NVIDIA in the hole, and Meta, which didn't work. I try and position for the long term because I am 51 years old and I gotta, retire at some point. My son's a freshman in high school and he's going to go to college at some point. And, so I try and give you guys a little bit of my, who is it, Susie Orman or Lizanne Saunders approach where, my Scott Redler long term, you have the 401k where you put monthly flows in because long term the bull market will win over time. And then the 403b for my wife's private business where she put money in. The blood on the street account, which got put to work during the taper tantrum and during here and a bunch of times in here. I'm not going to get into it. And then my little whole life, my whole life insurance policy that I started at age 35. Yes, it was the old marshmallow test. When I was 35 years old, my friend's like, hey, you need whole life insurance. I'm like, okay. So $1,500 a month, 16 years later, I would have spent that somewhere instead. It's got a nice cash value. And there's a big death benefit. So anyway, all these things, if you wanted to get a picture of things you should be doing, if you're 25 and watching this, 30 and you're watching this, if you're engaged, if you have a 1-year-old, you got to prepare. You got to put, instead of having 3 marshmallows today and one next, in the next few years, have 1 today and have 5, in the future, the whole marshmallow test. And P.S., this was the last thing I wrote. This is how you get paid monthly. You gotta make money, net money, ride the active sequence to get paid monthly and quarterly, which is also what I do. And believe it or not, if I don't make money quarterly and get checks, I bleed a little bit too, just like everybody else. I feel like that's why a lot of people follow me, because I'm not a millionaire. Actually, I'm a millionaire, but not like worth 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollars. You're talking like 3 to 5. And I'm not a billionaire with billions under management. So what I'm doing, a lot of people could do out there. You just need to have your process. You need to have your discipline. You need to like what you do every day. You need to be fit. You need to keep your mind right. So anyway, yesterday the Qs held where it had to. The Qs have shown some relative weakness, but you can't get too upset about that, right? Why? Because, it's led the way, and everyone was talking about how we had to broaden out and how, the small caps had to go, and, the bios had to bounce and this and that. And P.S., while that happened, the Qs came in, lost the 8-day, held the 21-day, and, can't complain too much, right? At this point, we're still in this upper range. You could kind of held this gap. You could go like this. This is your new channel. How long are we going to be in this channel before potentially making, a new high? I don't know. We'll see. At this point, you got to take your trades. For those that are on the alpha team, by the way, there is actually, where is the alpha team here? There is where is it? There actually, it's hard to see. Anyway, oh yeah, actually, why not? Where is it? The alpha team. Let's see. If I don't want to get discontinued here. Here's the alpha team. So for those that need confidence in what's it called, following strategies and things to do. By the way, I just sold some NVIDIA up 5. Why? Because I bought NVIDIA yesterday. Remember 24 hours ago, I'm like, will NVIDIA hold the 50-day? Will NVIDIA show some leadership again? And NVIDIA yesterday did hold 450 and went green and showed some power. So took a little bit home overnight. I don't have a lot of positions. I have 4 positions on and a bunch of options still. We made a lot of money in the IWM situation. I started buying it at the CPI last time and this and that. And now I have a maxed out call spread. Bought some bios, the LABU before it split. That worked. I actually bought some MSOS if you want to, position a little bit for January effect. I bought some 8 and 8.5s, and then I'm just, you get to watch. Sometimes you need some extra confidence. Usually there's only 30 people online here. By the time the market opens, is about 500. Yes, 500 like-minded individuals trading the market. So you could be trading in your basement. You could be trading in your kitchen. You could be trading from the beach. You could be trading from Goldman Sachs. You could be trading from First New York, and you could still, subscribe and, have another community of traders that try and help each other. But anyway, with that being said, we're still in this range. Some guys like, oh my God, the small caps were down yesterday. All in all, the small caps have had a huge move. From this little red dog reversal here. I remember having those options to the stretch, to retesting the neckline, to getting tight, to the move last week into some follow through on Monday, Tuesday, a little bit down. The 8 days here needs to play catch up, and chances are if we were to get into here, maybe that's when you buy some more options for maybe next week with the CPI, and the Fed. But so there are ways to buy dips and manage, right? That's what we try and do, and net money. But for now, this has been a really nice move. And then if you think that because we just did this move is over, which we'll measure it along the way. What you got to do is you got to go to the weekly chart. Weekly chart, you see how the IWM has done a whole lot of nothing. This is your weekly chart. It's good to look at the weekly chart because it gives you a really big picture. Shows you the false breakout here in 2021, and then the time to get the hell out of the way in 2022 in January. And then, we were going sideways. And if you remember over the summer, everybody was talking about a breakout. and then it failed, and then everyone's talking about a breakdown, and now here we are right back into the mix where 185-ish was one of my big targets. So there's still an empty quadrant here if the IWMs want to continue to trend, and then at some point next year, who knows, maybe it does get above 199 to 202 and show some out of performance. But again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. For now, let's just try and net some money, stay sane, and watch where the flows go, and try and approach the market responsibly in a way that you could quantify your risk. So like I said yesterday, my focus was on NVIDIA. NVIDIA came into the 50-day. This has been the poster child of risk. And, yesterday was a good trade, and now it's going to open up into the moving averages. I'll trim some, and then we'll see, how do we manage this, if it's going to, go back up into the upper end of this channel and maybe take this out at some point next year. I don't expect anytime soon, but bottom line, nice move yesterday. Okay, and it showed some power. Why? Because it went above Monday's high. That's why I took it home. I also took Microsoft home. It's been a leader. It came off the lows. You were able to buy a dip yesterday. It took a little time. It went from red to green, though, and then had a push. It's not showing so much follow through today, but again, these things are choppy ranges. We'll see how it goes. Apple, which came out with the news that I think their iTunes or the store had some growth finally, right? Not decelerating revenues. Finally had a pretty big move with some power. Got above 192.93 and 194. This is the highs of the summer. You would think with this kind of move now, with the buybacks and its own buyback, and nobody wanted to take profits into the end of the year to pay taxes in April, this could kind of coast its way back to the highs, but we'll see. At this point, it's up a whole 2 cents. If we just kind of go into some kind of cruise control, I would think Apple, you could ride it back up to that area. It's been very choppy, but all in all, if you look at the move that it had, all it did is go sideways, and there you go. So anyway, that's that. Meta wasn't really good yesterday. Meta wound up losing money trying it, but all in all, still held above Monday's low. This was your spot to get out of the way once it didn't hold the 8-day. It's trying to prove it could do something better. Some guys like Red Dog Path wasn't ready. I'm like, okay, well, look at the size of the moving path. It's true, but you still have your pro gap. Sometimes these things take 4, 5, 6, 7 days or more even for the 8-day to catch up before it wants to take out a prior level and continue. That's why you got to know your size. You got to sometimes do options so you don't overtrade it, et cetera, et cetera. Gold, yes, gold was a pain in the butt for a lot of you guys, but it did wind up holding this 186, which was the prior breakout. This is when we actively were buying it, and you had some space to sell some into new highs. Overall, though, I do think that it's going to have a 2024 that could really have some power. All it did is get a little bit extended from right in October. We're in December, October, 3 months later from 171 to 192. It's not a lot to pull back into the moving averages. If you look at the week, the monthly chart still looks really good, right? All it did is just get a little bit rejected into resistance from 2020 after a big move. So don't all of a sudden say, I'm not going to asset allocate for gold next year because it had one trappy move. If you trade actively for a living, it kind of sucked. You lost some money there. But anyway, as far as Bitcoin is concerned, wow. I've been telling you guys for the past 2 years that don't invest in altcoins. If you want crypto exposure, just same way if you're asset allocating and you put flows in every month into an S&P fund or into a 401k, S&P, probably I would say 70%, a little bit of bonds, and then 10% gold, 10% Bitcoin. And if you trade, like you trade small caps or whatever, just use your moving averages for crypto because, it tends to use the 8 and 21 day just like everything else. Above the 8 and 21 day, there's momentum, there's some speed, there's buyers, and, you could usually stay with it. And Bitcoin, wow, what a move, right? This is the monthly chart. Let's go to the daily first, just so you could see. Look at the move that started here above the 8-day moving average, right there. It really started around 28, and then it was above it all the way up into the 35,000. And then it consolidated, got choppy, and then stayed above the 8 and 21 day all the way up, and then re-energized above this 37.38 to hit 42 plus. Below the 8 and 21 day, If you're trading crypto for a living, you want to be careful above it. You try and ride it. And then if you look at the weekly chart, someone's like, where do you think this can go? Um, the first obstacle was 39, which we kind of hit for a little bit because that's where we broke down from in 2022. And then I'm like 43, and then you have 48. So I would think that, these are your levels. You have to use levels the same way. Below the 8, look at this. When it was below the 8 and 21 day from 63 all the way down, it was stay out of the way. And then right here, it ignited to start the year. So, kind of like what this year. This was fantastic. This was when I built my crypto account. But look at that, above the 8 day the entire time until there. So the 8 and 21 day moving average could be used in any asset class. All it does is measure the strength of the sector or the stock that you're trading. Some people are like, well, what do you think about Tesla? Tesla's not trading the way it's traded when it was so special. Even yesterday, I felt bad for people. Yesterday, it went up $7, $9, $10, and I was like, brother, you're missing it, you're missing it. And usually, if something's up $10 by lunchtime, it pulls in $3, you could buy it. It pulls in a little bit more, you get a little cautious, and it went up $10. And by the time it was 2:30, it was only up $2. I'm like, that's friggin' hard trading. Something goes up 10 and retraces more than a third. That means that $10 meant nothing. It just shows you how tough this stock's been. All in all, it did hold 231. It gave you a cash flow push, went to resistance, and now it's up 250. I'm going to stay away from a little while because there's other things that are easier to trade. It has to be the perfect setup now for me to be trading Tesla. It's too difficult. I guess if it were to pack and fill a little bit more in here at some point, then maybe the next time it tries to take out this descending trend line, great. But for now, I don't need to be bothered. I have enough stress in my life. No, I don't have that much stress. I'm only 51. My son just Thursday is going to have his Milburn varsity basketball debut, and he also plays JV, the only freshman. He's suited up for both, and happy for him. He's been working since he's 5 years old, and now we'll see how that goes. I get to watch, and I'm going to try and watch as much as possible. 4 years, I'm not going to wish him away fast. I have too many friends that are like, oh, you have to cherish this time because by the time it's gone, it doesn't come back, and all we do is get older. Anyway, I'm a little sore. Guys like, Red Dog, what are you going to do now that your race is done from next week or last week? I'm like, what am I going to do now? I'm going to do the exact same thing I did prior to the race, except for I might drink a little beer and relax a little bit. Not drink, beer, but I'm just saying I remember I cut out beer and French fries and bread and chips because I wanted to go from 190 to 180, which I did. So I'm still, up in the morning. I still did my sauna today. I did my ice bath. It was cold today. The ice was had a little chisel a little bit today. Still feeling it, but it was good on the body. I have to figure out something in the next 3 months to give myself something mentally to look forward to keep myself on the straight and narrow because that's just the way I'm wired. Everyone's wired different. It's funny. Everybody's been sending me, the video of Stallone and the little guy, who went over, life isn't all sunshines and rainbows. I guess everyone knows me, knows my MO because 15 different people sent me that. If you didn't watch it, Google, Rocky Day, and there's a really cool little thing with Rocky, and this looked like a 7-year-old who memorized his whole monologue, which that monologue is awesome. So many good strengths to that, and it's so good that kids still are impacted by the words of his in the past. Anyway, it shows you how much I'm interested in the market today. I'm talking about Rocky and this kid. Bottom line is, Tesla's still building. Tech showed a little relative strength, so it made some sense to be long overnight. I am long some Qs also. I'll be trimming a little bit into here. We're in this time period where it's December 6th. Everyone's going to be talking about how much of the Christmas rally do we have? Did we steal from Christmas through Thanksgiving? Do strong stocks get stronger because people don't want to take profits coming into year end? That's true. Will they take profits into the new year because they can pay taxes on it in 2025? Maybe. Will the January effect be strong? Meaning, will some small caps continue to outperform because no one can take tax loss anymore? Probably. Where does that happen? Probably still in the IWM, in some bios, and maybe even in cannabis. I'm going to come out with my 2024 report in the next 2 weeks with lots of different types of plays. It's been pretty accurate. I've been doing it for a decade. It's a lot of work, so look forward to that. And What did somebody asked me about Amazon? Amazon, it's hanging. It's Amazon trying to rebuild up here, held here. Pretty decent sized candle. Looks like it can get above here. You look at the weekly chart. Still it's trying to work its way back to where it came in from. Like basically, if you bought in 2020 during this 2-year move, you're still underwater. So it's not like these things have gone so crazy. Someone came out yesterday and put Amazon as its 2024 mega cap. Still has here, it still has here, just to get back to where it was. So although they're like, oh, Amazon's up X for the year, only because a lot of things are up a lot this year because they closed on the dead lows in December. So if you want to take a 2-year average or a 3-year average, unless you're trading really well and picking your spots like we try and do for a living, some of these things are nowhere. That's why it's all about your time frame. Are you accumulating the S&P for new all-time highs coming up in the next year or so? And long term, yeah, that's one thing. If you're picking spots using moving averages, using a tier system, using a risk profile type of approach, well, then you have to pick and choose your battles. Like here, this was when Amazon changed again. I remember doing this at 109. That's when it really got above the moving averages, cleared the descending trend line. But if you got out of the way here, it's just whatever. I'm not going to get into. Not enough time in the day. It's 6:52. Bottom line is, figure out what you need to do to net money. Figure out what you need to do to become a better trader, to be more prepared, to have a better approach. So this way you could execute with confidence and you can net money and you could get paid monthly or quarterly. So then you can provide for your family and enjoy life. You want to enjoy life because when your number's called, the big man or woman or whatever, I don't want to, piss anyone off. You never know when it's going to happen. It could happen any day. So enjoy yourself because you're dead a long time.